Hello everyone, so Nuan the Movie Snigger here with a special episode on Mission Impossible 1 and 2. So I was going to assemble a special team to do this review to help me out. But sadly there's only one of the experts here today. So we have Nilendra. He's a expert on spy movies, spy novels, anything, spy related.
Hey guys, sorry about the rest of the guys, they've all been disavowed.
Yes, our third agent went missing in action, but he will be here in spirit. Okay, Mr. Nilendra, so we have identified the elements that go into a Mission Impossible movie. Basically, they are usually the IMF team, Tom Cruise's big set-piece stunt, the villain, the plot, and the gadgets.
Right? And the heist also.
Yeah, the heist. Yeah, that's what I meant by the set-piece stunt, the heist scene.
The stunt is different because...
Well, we can talk about the heist and then the rest of the action as well.
Oh, what about the masks?
We can talk. That comes under gadgets. Let's say that comes under gadgets. Yeah. Okay. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to examine each movie and see how well it does in each of those areas. Okay. So we're gonna start with Mission Impossible 1, made in 1996 and directed by Brian De Palma. Okay. So spoiler warning before we begin. So make sure you guys watch the movie before you listen to this discussion. I'll give you a little story synopsis, right? So what's happening is there is a knock list. That's basically the list of all the agents, the secret agents that are working for the CIA, right? And so there is a mole in the IMF. And so they have to figure out who this mole is. They think they know the guy. So they are sent to track this guy to the buyer and then stop that sale. I think that's basically the plot, what's happening. But it gets complicated because the mole is not the real mole. The actual mole is actually inside Ethan's own team. So the fake mole is like a trap, I guess, right? And then in the process, of course, the real mole gets Ethan's team all killed off. And then Ethan has to figure out who this person is, uncover this identity, and stop the sale of the knock list. So first of all, let's talk about the team. So Nilendra, what did you think about the team?
The first one or the second one?
The first one.
The first one. Okay, yeah. We have the obvious tech guy who's kind of incompetent.
Yes.
The magnificent Kristen Scott Thompson.
Yeah, she's also there.
She's also there. We have Claire.
She's doing transport.
Yeah. We have John Voight, the team leader. And Hannah,
she's also there. Yeah, she's also there, and of course Ethan is there.
And Ethan is there, the point man.
Yeah. So I actually thought these guys were forgettable, most of them.
Well, that's the purpose.
I guess. I mean, there's not. I mean, there's a bit of good teamwork there in that the first scene where they go into the Prague. Yeah. What was that? The embassy or something, right?
The embassy, the American embassy.
The American embassy. So where they follow the fake mole, right? So there's a bit of good teamwork there. Yeah. And Tom Cruise is really good. I thought he was fantastic actually.
Yeah. And we get the first the sky sequence early on. They're doing the sting operation on a Russian agent. Claire pretends to be dead and a dead prostitute or something like that.
Yeah. And they show how the masks work.
They show how the masks work out. That's a recurring element in all the Mission Impossible movies. The second mission then.
The second team.
Yeah, the second mission. The mole hunt.
Oh yeah, in the Prague.
Then, that's when we get introduced to the tech problems that usually occur during all Mission Impossible films.
There's always a delay in the hacking, right?
In this case, it was Jack, the IT guy, who has a kind of a thing with Tom Cruise, where Tom Cruise is gonna arrange a date with Hannah, the lookout, and he was like, "Yeah, I know Jack, always constantly late."
Yeah, that's cool.
But that always happens in Mission Impossible. This thing, the tech always breaks.
It always breaks down. But that's good. I mean, it creates a bit of tension, and because you're not sure what's going to happen. So that's kind of interesting. So anyway, the first team that Tom Cruise has, they all get killed off.
Jack's death was really bad.
Jack. Oh, you mean the tech guy? Okay, that was a bit graphic. Yes.
That was.
Yeah. Okay, so Tom Cruise was good. Claire, not. I don't really care about her that much. I mean, she's all right, but then she doesn't seem to have a lot of chemistry with Tom Cruise.
And if you consider her as as the other ladies in the series, in the team members, she's not really that active in that.
She's kind of blank, right? She's
I guess she kind of she might fill in the role as in like the undercover agent or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
She blends in the series in the other mission, the heist mission. She blends in. Her job is to blend in, to not be noticeable.
I get yes, true.
Maybe that's her speciality.
Could
in the
be,
series.
yeah. You could argue that, yes. So then let's get to the second team, which I think is
team.
way more interesting than the first team. So
Absolutely.
So you have Ving Rhames as Luther, and you have Jean Reno playing.
We just call him the French guy because he's the Frenchiest French guy you've ever seen being French.
Yeah.
We're referencing obviously to Godzilla.
French Connection, right?
The French Connection, but Godzilla really because he's like no croissant.
So they actually like both of them they have a lot of personality, and you remember these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Ving Rhames especially is very likable. He kind of lightens up the mood from time to time.
And it's really explainable why he's there in all the series.
And people like him, right? They just it made sense to bring him back because he's very good with Tom Cruise. Mm-hmm. And I actually thought like he has better chemistry with Tom Cruise than the girl.
True.
It's more fun to see them together, right? They have a lot of good teamwork when it comes to the big heist sequence. So let's get to the heist sequence. So this is the big stunt kind of moment that Tom Cruise does, the infiltration. I thought this was introduced very well. They explain clearly all the things that can go wrong and how sophisticated this vault is. So basically, they have to break into the vault at the CIA.
Part of the series is they explain the heist throughout, showing all the traps and all the stuff.
Yeah.
Sequences and say, it's impossible.
But that's the whole point of
it. Yeah.
And I think it's the heist that really defines
the movie,
the missions,
really,
the Mission Impossible series, because that's the highlight. Everybody knows what the heist is. I think my mom saw me watching Mission Impossible once, and she was like, "Hey, that's Mission Impossible." She saw the heist scene and she was like, "That's Mission Impossible." So everybody knows what this is. The sequence was shot really well, and it's edited really well, and they create tension. One of the things I saw was that they use a lot of visual cues. Like for example, for the sound meter, they have this little bar that goes red.
The decibels,
it goes red, so the audience knows, okay, if it goes red, it's bad, right? So they do a lot of stuff like that. The floor, when it's white, it's sensitive, and if you touch the floor, the alarm goes off. So stuff like that. What did you think about the admin guy who's outside and he's trying to come in?
That was just pitiful. That's just normal depiction of a bureaucrat, kind of like how our dads would look like.
Well, he's doing his job, right? He's got to do his job, and that's also adding to the tension because this guy is sort of trying to come in and
1990s IT guy. No more tattoos and coding and stuff like that.
That was cool, and I thought all the team members contributed to the infiltration somehow. Like Claire was trying to keep the admin guy away.
Yeah.
And
and if you look at it, she really blends in. I mean, obviously it's focused on her, but her job is to kind of blend in, be forgettable, just do the stuff in the background. But Frenchman,
he has some trouble with the rats.
He has some trouble with rats. Can't keep his knives together.
But that again, like you have that unpredictability, and that kind of makes it exciting. You don't know what's going to happen.
Stuff that goes wrong in the heist.
And then Tom Cruise almost falls and hits the floor.
I showed you, right? That face.
That facial expression is priceless. That's really cool. The scene is not as grand and flashy as the rest of the series, but I think it was a nice scene to have. Like, it's a very restricted area, small scale, but it's very effective. I think
it had more tension than the other these things.
Because it's set up so well, and you know what can go wrong, and so they come really close to like getting caught. Okay, so let's talk get back to the plot a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Right, so I thought it was a good plot. It's quite. I mean, it's a mole, and you have this list, and this is the kind of thing you've seen before. But I thought it was told very well. What did you think about that? The storytelling.
The storytelling was really good. We were looking at all the visual style because each Mission Impossible film has its own style.
The director put their own style into it. Yes.
Of course, if Tom Cruise approves of it, since he's the producer,
he's in charge here.
He's in charge, right? But yeah, I mean, we were noticing all the the headshots.
There's a lot of close-ups. Yeah.
trying to focus on the face and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, and just showing a younger Ethan Hunt, more flustered, more.
He didn't always get it right.
He didn't always get it right,
but he's a good agent. I like how they show stuff like
the restaurant scene.
The restaurants.
All the
he because he actually notices things. Right. Because he's a good agent. I mean, that's what an agent is supposed to do. They should know when something is going wrong. So he notices that there's a second team that's shadowing their team.
Yeah.
Because the head of the IMF knows that the mole is inside Ethan's team, so he's setting up a trap.
Definitely a better agent than Bond, because Bond is just. That's ridiculous. That's just send the bull charging in and then see what happens.
That's a different kind of agent. He's good. I mean, Ethan also does this thing where he knows somebody might come after him, so he takes his light bulb, crushes the glass, and puts it outside the door.
It's called tradecraft, I mean,
they're good. Got a job of showing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, and I also like how the information was revealed slowly. It's like assembling like a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
And if you actually pay attention, you can kind of figure out what's happening, because a lot of information is hiding in plain sight. If you watch it for the second or third time, you will see immediately what Ethan is also noticing.
Yeah,
right.
That's true. So, it's really told from his point of view. And, and the critical scene in that one was the confrontation with
Kittredge,
the John White. Yeah.
So a bit of spoilers here. So the actual no, it's okay. I mean, this movie is very old, so you guys should have watched this already, right? Okay, so the real mole is actually John White's character. That's Ethan Hunt's mentor, right? So he shows up halfway through the movie, and so he doesn't know that Ethan has figured out that he's actually the bad guy. So he's trying to get Ethan to suspect the IMF chief as the mole, but Ethan has already figured it out. So Ethan is actually playing him as well. Ethan is playing John White's character. So that was very interesting. That, I mean, he hasn't shown all his cards. He hasn't revealed all his cards. He's keeping close to his vest. So that was really interesting. And I also thought that the scene with Ethan and the IMF chief was really good. Like early on, when Ethan finds out that what the mission really was, that this was all a mole hunt. And that scene, the dialogue was really good. I thought it was told really well. And Ethan, of course, he notices a lot of things. He sees the Holy Bible that was used by the mole. He sees the knife that one of the killers used to kill off his team members.
The stamp inside the Bible.
Stamp inside the Bible. So he sees all this. And he's already put together. So he's actually very smart, which is really cool to see. When the villain finally reveals himself, Ethan is not surprised. Ethan knows that he's already figured it out. So that was really cool. Let's talk about the villain. What did you think about the villain? John White's character.
I did that. I mean,
he was quite good.
He's quite good. It's a big reveal around 3/4 of the film when it actually turns out that he's alive.
He's still alive.
He's still alive.
Because in the first act of the film, he fakes his own death.
Yeah.
So Ethan thinks he's dead.
But then at least they're good enough to respect the audience.
Yes.
To not keep us thinking, oh no, he may not be the bad guy.
Yeah.
They show
it. That was very interesting, because you get a lot of films these days where they try to keep the identity of the villain secret till the very end for this huge reveal, right?
Yeah.
So most of the time, I feel like that kind of falls flat because it's not set up very well.
And maybe some people in the audience are like, that's
we saw it. Yeah.
We saw it.
So here, I think they don't go for that. I like that. I like the fact that they don't go for that. And I also thought that him being Ethan's mentor, that kind of made it personal. That was interesting. He's not very threatening. That I'd say that's my minor complaint about him. He's not very threatening. Like maybe the guy in Mission Impossible 3, I thought that guy was scary. Philip Seymour Hoffman. He was threatening. He goes after you, right?
Yeah.
He was threatening. Now this guy John White is not that threatening, but because of his relationship with Ethan, I thought that was a nice touch.
This with John White, with Jim Phelps' character, it's more about the relationship between Ethan and Claire,
of course,
the wife of Jim Phelps.
Yeah, Claire is Jim's wife.
Early on in the film, they just show the chemistry between them, kind of hinting that it's a very really strong connection. While she is married to Ethan's mentor.
Yeah.
I mean, the age difference is obviously there in your face.
Yeah. And also like halfway through where Ethan is figuring stuff out, Claire is sort of trying to seduce him and get him to stop thinking about what happened and stop him from figuring out.
And we actually see it in his face when Claire gives that little peck on the cheek. And
and Ethan knows something's wrong, right?
Wrong there,
yeah. And he does figure out who the bad guy is, but he's not sure whether Claire is actually working with the bad guy or not. So even though the villain is revealed around halfway into the movie, around 2/3 into the movie, there's another reveal at the very end. I thought that was handled really well because they use a mask for that scene. So Ethan is wearing a mask pretending to be John Voight's character, and then Claire comes and talks to him. Ethan finds out that Claire was actually working for the bad guy. So,
but we can actually say that Ethan has figured it out because he did not tell Claire.
He's not sure. He's not 100% sure, but
100% sure. But he didn't tell Claire about Kittredge being on the train.
Yes. So actually, he plays it really well because he has another plan which Claire is not aware of, and gets the CIA chief to come there, and also Luther is actually the guy he trusts. That's very interesting, I thought, because he's actually the guy on the disavowed list, but Ethan knows he can trust him. So I thought that was cool, and you can see the beginning of their friendship. The only thing is Claire's betrayal, it doesn't have much weight because she doesn't have a lot of chemistry with Ethan and you don't really, she's not very likable also, right?
And the weird thing is, I mean, she's not really ruthless about it. I mean, she's like, do we really need to shoot Ethan? I was like,
she's not very sure what to do with him. Yeah, that's true. So it doesn't really hurt that much at the end when...
I guess, I mean, you might say that, okay, Claire has fallen for Ethan and that's why the Phelps guy shoots Claire.
True. But Ethan never fell for Claire, so it's not a big deal when...
did he? Because that scene at the end...
He did fall down and all that.
Yeah, I mean, why check on Claire?
That is true.
She betrayed him. Just go after the guy with the list.
That is true. So Jim takes the knock list. He takes the money.
The money.
So they finally deliver the knock list to the buyer. Jim tries to take off with the money. And so you get this really, the final action sequence. I thought this was quite good as well. So Jim is trying to escape the bullet train and get onto this helicopter where Jean Reno's character is piloting, and then Ethan is trying to stop him. The only issue is there's a bit of blue screen and you can kind of see it. It looks a bit dated now. But I think because of the wind effect they got going on, I heard that they actually used a giant wind machine to simulate 100 mile per hour wind or something. So so you can see Tom Cruise's face getting distorted and the clothes flying off. So that actually adds a little bit of tension to the scene. It makes it feel a bit more realistic. So that was impressive. What did you think? You like that scene? No.
Well, I pointed out some really weird physics in that scene. Putting a helicopter inside the tunnel.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bit of CGI. I think as well, and it doesn't hold up 100%.
I should explain. That's just a pet peeve of mine because when I watch Fast 5.
The Fast and the Furious movies.
Yeah, the Fast and Furious movies.
The physics.
Get really.
The physics. The physics get you down. But I thought once the helicopter is in the tunnel and they're jumping between the train and the helicopter, that looks kind of
nice hanging scenes for Mr. Cruise.
The hanging scene was really cool. And of course the chewing gum, that was cool. The red light, green light, that was cool. And let's talk about the gadgets. I thought there were a few gadgets in this film. So you had the sunglasses that had the camera, and then there's one with the tracking system. They use these quite a bit, right?
And no spy car?
Okay, there was no big car in this. I mean, it's not a flashy movie, It's like a very old school.
Later on, it comes in.
Later on they get more cars.
I guess that's the Bond influences penetrating.
Probably.
But the reason I bring it up is because this film feels like a really big budget television movie. Because it was a TV series in the beginning in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And now they've taken it, big budget and stuff like that. You can see there are some cost cutting and stuff like that because it's the first film.
It wasn't that big.
It wasn't that big.
Yeah.
But so
all things considered, it looks pretty good. I mean,
it was really straightforward.
Yeah.
I'd say, it had a very serious tone considering what comes later.
Yeah, and with a little bit of humor here and there with Ving Rhames' character.
Yeah.
They introduced the face masks very early on, but they don't use it in the middle of the movie at all.
Yeah.
So the audience kind of forgets that it's there, and then at the end they use it again, and there's this really cool reveal at the end. I like how they don't overuse it. Some of the other films, especially the second one, we'll get to that in the next review, but they use it too much.
We have a lot to say about the second one.
Okay. Okay, so to sum it up,
this is Tom Cruise before all the weirdness started. So.
Before the weirdness, but he still runs in this film. There's a good shot of Tom Cruise running. So.
No, I'm talking about the couch flipping.
Before all of that,
later on in the personal life.
Yeah, he's quite normal in there.
Yeah.
So the big stunt, the infiltration sequence is very very effective, very suspenseful.
Small scale,
but very effective.
Tense,
Yeah, very intense. Yes, and also it's very instantly recognizable, and for most people, that scene kind of encapsulates what the series is. That's what people identify with Mission Impossible. I don't think, even though the plot was good, I don't think people go to watch Mission Impossible movies for the plot. They do. I don't think that's the reason. It's the heist and the team. I think those are the two most. So all in all, I think this was quite an entertaining film. Everybody's talking about what Tom Cruise's next big stunt is. That's why people go to watch this.
Cruise has got to run and Cruise has got to hang.
Exactly. That's what he has got to do, man. So I think the first Mission Impossible film has all the elements of what goes into a Mission Impossible film. Later films in the franchise would build on top of this. So any closing thoughts from you, Nilendra?
Overall, in the series, this is a good mid. I'd say,
it's a good introduction. So next up is actually Mission Impossible 2. So let's get to that one. Okay, guys, thanks for listening, and please wait for the next episode, which is Mission Impossible 2.
I'll be joining you for that one later, guys.